Can someone in the room just say something? Because we've lost audio. We've lost the room.
I lost it too, and
Yeah.
then it came back.
Jessica?
Okay.
Okay,
We
there we
are
go.
streaming and recording.
Great. All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Carrie Keenan. Jessica Chait and I are the co-chairs of the Chelsea Land Use Committee, which usually meets monthly. This is our June meeting. We have a new preamble, so bear with us. It may take some finessing. As per the mayor, the COVID-19 emergency order has not been extended. And here's what that means for us. This committee meeting and all community board meetings will require an in-person quorum to conduct business. Members are expected to attend meetings in person unless you have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance. If that is the case, please let Jessica, or myself know in advance of the meeting so we can find out if we think we'll have quorum. MCB4 has adopted a hybrid meeting policy whereby we will meet in a live and a virtual hybrid fashion. So excused committee members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. And we ask the committee members who are joining via Zoom leave their cameras on. In fact, I think it's mandatory. And we are required to do so when speaking or voting. We encourage members of the public to join virtually for the safety of everyone. And a copy of the MCB4 hybrid policy is available on our website. Tonight's meeting is still being recorded and is currently live streaming on YouTube, where it will remain and be accessible until the end of days. The agenda for tonight's meeting is public and can be viewed on the CB4 website. We encourage everyone to sign up for our e-blasts and to get the agenda. If this is your first time at a Community Board 4 meeting, there are some things to know about the process. One, after each presentation, first the committee will ask questions to the presenter, then members of the public can ask questions or make a comment. Subsequently, the discussion goes back to committee. On some agenda items, committee members may next vote to make a recommendation, which usually results in a letter for the full board to vote on. If you want to comment or ask a question after a presentation, if you are virtual and after the committee has spoken, you must press the raised hand button on your screen and we will call on you to unmute. If you're in the room, we will call on you in the room. That unmute button is usually on the bottom right of your screen, or if you're calling in, use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. If there are not any questions about that, we can maybe discuss what not having quorum tonight means. I can give it a try and then Jesse can fill in. But we will, have a regular meeting, regular meeting as we're used to. And when it comes time to vote, we will ask for a consensus because the one vote we have tonight, the LPC meeting is before full board. We can either ask the applicant to delay until after full board. If they're not amenable to that, we will have to take it to exec to get a vote. Is that correct?
Yes. That is
Okay.
correct.
Does anyone have any questions? Again, this is our first try, so we'll keep finessing and hopefully we won't have to read that every time. But if everyone's good, we can move to agenda item number 1. We have a pretty light agenda, which is great. Great. Over to Jessica.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. And again, bear with us as we experiment with this first new hybrid approach. Tonight we have, as Carrie mentioned, just one presentation and a vote. This is an LPC application for 115 West 18th Street regarding the legalization of a front door. I believe we're joined by Julie to give a brief presentation and guide us through the request to LPC. I do want to note, if you haven't checked your Dropbox, we do have the checklist that we've developed, and they have submitted their comments accordingly.
Good.
Julie, we'll turn it to you.
So real quickly, Julie, just so everybody understands what just happened on our end, we turned the lights off. So we can see the projection better on Julie's presentation. So you might not be able to see us that well, but we'll just do
You're
that.
still coming through clearly on my end, because you guys have a good camera over there. Good. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and then make sure that you all can see that okay.
Yeah.
That's showing up okay on your end? Excellent. All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Rosen from Higgins, Quaysbarth and Partners, and we are the preservation consultants on this application, which, as Jesse mentioned, is at 115 West 18th Street. This is a mid-block building that's running through block from 18th Street on the south to 19th Street on the north, just west of 6th Avenue, and it's located in the far west end of the Ladies Mile Historic District. The building has over 200 feet of frontage on 18th Street. You can see this full frontage here in this photograph. And the building was originally constructed with a number of different access points throughout. There's currently 3 active entrances throughout the building, in addition to a number of closed off shaftways. And today's application is to legalize the existing bronze door, which I'm circling with my cursor, which was installed at the east entrance without permit. The infill has a contemporary design that's well proportioned to the entrance opening, and it relates well to the remainder of the building, particularly the dark windows throughout. There was a prior approval at Landmarks for a different door design at this location, but we believe that the installed door is also appropriate for this building and the larger historic district. And I'll show you some examples of district context a little bit later in the presentation. And just a couple of larger context views to orient you a bit on the street frontage. So these are both on 18th Street. The left photo is looking west. You're seeing, again, that full building elevation on 18th Street, that full 200 feet of frontage. And then the right photo is looking east. This is the east entrance, the subject of this application, and you can see it within that broader context of the adjacent building looking towards 6th Avenue. The east entry is quite a small entrance on this otherwise very large elevation, and it's also set back several feet. So this setback condition really does limit visibility as one passes by the building. As I mentioned, there are multiple entries and shaftways around the building on both 18th Street and 19th Street. This is just a high-level summary of the existing conditions around the base of the building. The locations of these are shown in this key plan with the black arrows versus the red arrow here, which is that east entrance. As you can see, there's no consistent treatment. There are varying surrounds and door designs, infilled openings. All of it is non-historic. So going a little bit further back in time, 115 was built in 1896 as a warehouse addition in support of the B. Altman department store. That full complex fronted 6th Avenue here. You may know it now as where the Container Store is. And 115 is located here with that red arrow. And from historic maps, we can see that locations of entrances and shaftways changed a lot over time. And the east entrance, again, the subject of this application, was actually a later addition to the building. Also just wanted to point out that there was a large canopy added to the building on the 18th Street facade. You can see it here in the map, and we have photos of it later. And that was there until at least the 1950s. So here's some documentation from earlier in the building's history. This particular photo from 1918, you can see that large canopy extending the length of the building facade. And it really obscured the conditions at the base of the building. Here's the east entrance in shadow. But by 1950, we get a much better look at what was happening at the base of the building. On the left is an overall photo from 1950. The area in the red box is what's enlarged here. And you can see with the red arrow here, this is the east entrance condition as of 1950 with a glass door with very simple thin metal framing. So the pre-existing door, as late as 2017, shown on the left, it was a non-historic metal and glass door. It's my understanding that that door had been there likely since designation in the late 1980s. In 2019, LPC staff issued a permit for new painted metal and glass door at this bay. That door was not installed, and the existing door, as you can see here in the center and right photos, was installed instead. And so what's in place now is a simply designed bronze door with side lights and a transom set back more than 2 feet from the facade. The installed door, we feel, is also appropriate to the building, and its configuration and material and finish are very consistent with other LPC approved entrance doors in the historic district. Here's an elevation drawing showing the door in context, in the larger building context. Again, that large building frontage, that long frontage over 6 stories in height, a very isolated location here at the east end of the building, and then some enlarged details focused on the entry door with the elevation section and plan, again, showing that deep setback. Looking more broadly at the historic district context, we did find quite a range of contemporary entrance infill that LPC staff and the commission have approved over the years, all of which has been deemed appropriate to the historic district. And the approvals, as you can see, encompass a wide variety of configurations and metal finishes on both avenue fronting and mid-block entrances. And so returning to 115 West 18th Street, which is a district building, again, we're looking at legalizing the existing bronze entrance door at the East Bay. We think it's very appropriate to the building and the historic district. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Julie. Yeah, I'll start with Brad and then Paul.
Why are we seeing this now? Are they doing something to the building?
And if I can just tag on to that question, Julie, can you speak it seems the applicant is the name on the application, at least in terms of the checklist, was from WeWork, which I don't believe is the owner of the building. So can you maybe, or perhaps they are, but can you just address who is the applicant and why now?
Sure. Yeah. So, so as you said, WeWork is the current applicant. They are our client on this project. They are one of the tenants in this multi-tenanted office building. They at one point had many, many floors throughout the building, as late as 2018 when the door was installed. And so they installed the door to serve this entry. So at this point, they are just looking to get sign off for all of their projects that they've done throughout the years. And this is an open item at Landmarks.
So they're applying for a door that wasn't approved from 5 years ago.
Yes.
And it was the wrong one.
There was a different door installed than was approved. That's correct.
Do you have a drawing of the one that we did approve?
I do have one in the appendix that I can show you.
And are they gonna do the rest of the doors? And all those infills?
I do not believe that there is a plan to do any other infill changes throughout the building. This is the design that was approved in 2019. Again, this is a staff approval. For this legalization, we are looking for a commission level approval.
So for us, it didn't come before this committee because staff could approve it, which
That's correct. Yeah, the prior approval was also for a glass and metal door, but with a painted finish. And what was installed was a bronze finish.
And can you speak to why there was a modification from what was approved? Or
I unfortunately don't have that information. That was before everyone's time who's affiliated with the project now.
Money, so is money.
well,
That was my question, is why didn't they put in the door that was approved? Why did they put in a door that wasn't approved? And why are we spending time looking at something to replace something that should have been installed correctly in the first place?
And approved by the staff.
And approved by the staff, and like, I'm not quite sure why we're even here. And second, and you raised an important question, WeWork as the tenant, is the building aware that these alterations are being made to their property, and why aren't they part of the application process?
The landlord is aware. We have been working with the landlord on the application. They signed the Landmarks application form that has been submitted to LPC. And again, this is the door that was installed. We are going to the full commission to legalize it because we believe that it is an appropriate addition to the building and the district, independent of when it was installed.
But my feeling, that will kind of talk feelings instead of questions on the application, is that, this is us approving something, someone violated an agreement, and now they're coming to us 5 years later and asking us to approve a violation. And I'm not 100% comfortable with that.
So there's, if I can just say, there are two clear issues. One is process, which I think we're very disappointed if this did not follow an appropriate process. And then there's just the contextual nature of this door and how do we feel about this door specifically. And I think we should try to, if we can, break them apart, at least to understand our own feelings about whether or not this door is appropriate, or not feelings, but thoughts on whether or not this door is appropriate. And then we can comment. Certainly the issue of process should not be lost in any feedback on the door we give.
Thank you.
I just want to highlight that people who are virtual should definitely be, committee members should be raising their hands to speak. You can raise your hand. I just want to make sure everyone knows that.
I have one more last question. Does the bronze, you said the windows up top are black?
They're a dark finish.
Do we know what color?
I am not certain of the specific
They
color.
don't match, right, Julie?
I'm sorry?
They don't match the color.
The windows are a dark finished metal. The door that was installed is bronze. It's very likely that the metal windows have a dark anodized bronze finish. That's from a prior repair campaign that we don't have a permit for. So I am not aware of the specific color, but there is an overall dark metal infill typology at the building.
Okay, before I think we're gonna go to Pam and then we'll come back to Darren. Pam?
Yeah. Hi. So my question, Julie, you've referred several times to these doors as being bronze doors, bronze and
Yes.
glass.
Yes.
Are we serious that they are actually bronze, or are they aluminum painted to look like bronze?
They are actually bronze. I looked specifically, I can flip to a couple of photos if you'd like here where I documented this. They are actually bronze. They even have the green patina in certain areas. You can see the bronze coming through where they've been, rubbed from contact with the frame a little bit more as they've been opened and closed over the years.
So they're
They are
anodized
actually
bronze. They're actually anodized bronze.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Somebody spent some money on those doors.
Yes. And I think, in that, if I may add in, I think kind of leads helpfully back to the historic district context. We see other bronze doors throughout the district with very similar contemporary profiles. We also see center door configurations like what was installed at 135th Avenue. So again, the door that was ultimately installed at 115, we feel is very consistent with these other approvals and is therefore appropriate for the building.
Thank you.
Julie, I just have a quick question. What are we approving? We are approving what we have already approved? What is the application that you currently bringing to us?
We are asking for an approval for the installed door condition.
They're asking for approval on what is already there.
Here,
That is correct.
as a board, we can't, it was approved this way. You can't have people coming back 5 years later going, sorry. We can't support, we can't do that. It's ridiculous. I don't have a problem with the door, just say the process,
Yeah, that,
like it was David has to say.
yeah,
wrong.
and the second quick question is, why is the owner not here? The call asked 2 minutes ago. Did I give you a name?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Was that a question for me? I'm sorry. I
What
could not
question
hear
is-
that.
Where is the owner in all this?
The building owner?
The building owner, yes.
So the building owner did not install this door. It was a tenant installed door. And so the tenant is the applicant for this legalization. with the support of the building owner who has signed the LPC application form, knows that this project is before you tonight and is going to a landmarks public hearing on July 18th. And they are supportive of this moving forward through the legalization process.
Hi, Julie. Was the owner issued a violation from the Landmarks Commission, or the, I guess it would go to the owner?
Yes, there was a violation issued for the store.
And has any kind of penalty been paid? You know, we kind of hate to encourage others to ask questions later or ask for forgiveness later rather than permission up front. You know, let's say hypothetically, we did say, okay, we give this our blessing. How do we prevent it from happening again? Has there been any skin off the owner's nose over this?
I cannot speak to that at this time.
And the other thing is, are you sure that it was appropriate for the commission at staff level to have approved even the design for that this one does not have? It seems to me like that's something that probably needed to go to a public hearing. What's your understanding?
I'm sorry, are you speaking about the door that was approved?
Yeah, it seems odd to me that landmarks at staff level would approve a change to the publicly visible facade of the landmark building.
Yeah, that's the door that they approved. Those are the approved drawings, and we have the permit. We've met with LPC staff, and they confirmed that the door that I showed you was what was approved in 2019 that met the staff rules.
Right, but do you think that landmarks was acting appropriately in allowing staff to make that approval?
It's consistent with other staff level approvals in the district. Staff rules do allow for metal and glass doors at a number of district buildings, particularly if profiles are representative of other details that are found throughout the historic district. In that instance, staff could approve a painted metal finish. The fact that there's a bronze door installed, even though it's a more noble material and very consistent with what historic doors may have been in the district, the bronze materiality was not something that staff could approve.
Okay, and I'm sorry, did you say that the owner did pay a fine based on the violation?
I do not know.
We can find that.
David, most likely is they're doing other work in the building, they can't get a permit because there's an open violation. So now they're before us to cure it. Maybe WeWork's doing more work or another tenant. That's why they're coming to us now to get it signed up. It's most likely what's happening.
I just received confirmation. So Landmarks doesn't issue fines on this. They just hold up the permits. This has been resolved as part of this application. An escrow has been established at Landmarks, which has allowed the landlord to continue to pull permits while we move through this process.
Carrie?
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around, you know, how we write a letter for this. Because it doesn't seem like I have yet to hear anyone, and maybe there's still comments to come about, you know, thinking that this door is inappropriate. So it's really, you know, if we denied or if we recommended denial of this application, it would be because they did something, you know, illegal and then came to try to legalize it. And we did that on West 20th, you'll remember, like a few months ago with the house with the air conditioner sticking out of the walls and the bricked up windows center column. And they did make them put those, well, they said that they had to put the windows back in, which was pretty interesting. But I'm not sure what we would be getting here. We would be getting the other door that was approved, right? It's not like we're going back to the historic door.
Right, but it would also send a message that you can't just put in whatever you want and walk away and expect that it's going to be forgiven after the fact.
So if we did not recommend this, it would be purely on process, because we know when we go in front of Landmarks, they say the door's fine, approved, right? I mean, I'm just really trying to be realistic about this. This is a very irritating application. I agree with you all.
You know, there's also a sustainability issue. You want to throw away a perfectly good door on what seems
Right.
like principle. But on the other hand, it sets a bad precedent for other owners. Who, you know, feel they can get away with this and maybe it never gets noticed. And they're able to pull permits that they need.
It just, in my judgment, Carrie, is we vote denial on process. They didn't install what was approved. It's not that we don't like the door, but it's precedent. You can't do it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah.
And to build on that, are we specifically requesting that they go back to the originally approved door? Or if they want a new door, they should be filing a new, you know, an entirely new application?
Well, I think what's gonna happen is they're gonna come to us to do the public hearing, and then Landmark's just gonna say it's fine. But we should put it on record that we don't agree that they skipped the process.
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to
That's not
ask,
predicted. They might be coming back to us for other things in that building related to landmarks, like those openings or new storefronts or something like that, or a flag. I don't see the WeWork flag, which is strange. So they could be coming back to us.
So-
That's fine.
yeah, let me just, we recommend denial of legalization and we're just left with an illegal door. Like, I mean, whatever that means, you know. So is that, I'm just getting some clarity here.
I think what you're saying is you're recommending denial of the legalization, but that you're wanting.
What are we asking for? That, I guess that's what,
To fill what, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, at least to fill what they've been approved, what they were approved for in 2019.
so then we are asking for them to put in the other door, which seems lesser than this door. To me, I'm not a historian, but. So
Well,
I guess
Jerry-
that's what I'm asking. Like, I'm with you on process. Believe me, I'm, you know, process angry at LPC, but,
Here, I think we could say, we're denying because they didn't install the original door, and they have to file a brand new application, probably based on this one.
and figure it out. Yeah, just,
I
it's
mean,
up to them to figure it
Because
out.
that way we're saying the process was wrong, they did it wrong, you gotta spend the money to reapply, I think that's all we can say, right?
Can I ask a question of David and Pam, I guess, and I see Mike saying, but is to Carrie's point and what they just went through, and they went through a staff level. Are we denying them this? Do they go, okay, we'll apply? I mean, I guess I question what do we?
Yeah, that's fine, right?
Just,
They
we're
can
not
apply.
taking out the door, we just need to make a statement
Okay.
that we don't agree, they're gonna go.
I understand. I'm just saying
To staff level, Jesse, because there's a violation, it's probably there's a loophole to come to us in the public hearing.
Yeah, for sure.
But now they gotta spend the money, they gotta go to LPC, it'll go to staff level, it'll get approved. But we just gotta put our line in and say, it's not precedent,
Yeah, not good,
Yeah.
forgiveness is the permission.
So we end up without an opinion on the actual door itself. I just like, right? Like if I have to write this letter, this is what I'm thinking. We're just not really discussing the door at all.
Julie, if I may, ask you something, I see the pictures of the other entrances around the building, 19th Street and 18th Street as well, and all of them are totally different. So
Correct.
if you get this somehow passed eventually and approved along the way, even, you know, despite our denial possibly here, is there any plans to make the other ones uniform to this one? Because you've got a mismatch of all these, you got wood and then you've got a darker grayish one here, none of them, you know, they don't look like originals. I mean, one of them maybe, but.
They're not original. They're all non-historic. The designation report is very clear that all of the infill was replaced prior to
Right.
designation. So we're dealing with all non-historic fabric. There was non-historic fabric removed at the east entry to install this door. So we're dealing with, yeah, a lot of non-historic infill. I can't speak to any plans to
Right.
change out other doors.
Okay.
Because again, this was a tenant driven installation. But
Or were there any violations administered to these other doors as well?
no.
No? Okay, that's kind of.
You know, I suppose.
Sorry,
we could-
I just had one more question, if you don't mind.
Actually, I just
Then
wanna
I'll lower
acknowledge-
my hand.
Well, sorry, Carrie, I just want to acknowledge we're learning here and like we're seeing that we're kind of bouncing around like we're informal in conversation, but people on the camera can't. So I would just ask that everyone, even though we're in a more casual, like it feels so nice to be together and to build on each other, but we should raise our hands so that we can just moderate the flow so that everybody has their turn. Carrie, you should finish your thought and then we'll go to Mike.
Yeah, just my last question is to Julie. We, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will not be able to get this to full board, and we would really like you to postpone until we can have a full board.
I was going to ask you about that. Can you remind me when your full board will be?
July 26th.
July 26th?
Yeah, July's a weird month for a full board. It goes to the end
Okay.
of the month.
Okay.
So you,
We are currently calendared for July 18th. At Landmarks, our preference would be to stay on that date if possible. We would need to look at the Landmarks calendar and see when else they are meeting. Carrie, is that something that we can follow up with you on? Would that be okay as we check schedules and confirm?
I mean, of course,
Available-
of course you can follow up, but
Okay.
the bottom line is like full board is when full board is. So there will be no
Right.
vote before that date. So if you could postpone,
Okay.
that would be
So,
great. Because then we have, full board agreement of a full board vote and you might have a different outcome.
If you don't mind, one moment, I'm just chatting internally with the team.
I'm ready to move on.
Mike had his hand up, so let's, Mike, hear from you.
Talking over people that didn't be on the meeting.
Yeah, you ready for me?
We're ready. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, okay. Look, so the way I understand it here is we are using the example of this building with the boarded up with the air conditioners, yeah? As a reason to justify saying that this particular door is inappropriate, right? Whereas indeed it's not inappropriate, right? The process was something we don't go for. In the case of the air conditioners, that in and of itself, I think, was inappropriate and justified that we say that we don't like the process nor the air conditioners. I don't see throwing out this door and going through the process, which is, it's just for the sake of doing it. If our feelings were offended, well, we'll state that in the letter, but I don't see having them go through this ritual, which is pro forma, to say the least. I say we say it's appropriate and object to the process, and that's it, and move on. It's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Mike. I would just add, though, that this is not a door that was approved. And so whether we like it or not, it is not what was authorized. And
No, I agree with you. It wasn't approved.
we should go back.
However, the process to redo the process is a formality, and of course, costly one, time-consuming one. We all like the door, I think. Let's accept the door and object to the process. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I think, if we're to officially say the door can stay, I think there needs to be some way the owner pays a price for having just ignored. And I know it was the tenant and not the owner, but this kind of thing can't happen. It just renders the landmarks law lawless. And it occurs to me that this building does not have a master plan for its entrances. I suppose we could send a letter saying we agree to keeping the existing door as long as the owner comes up with a master plan, maybe for the entrances and the windows.
Yeah, I think that's good, David. You know, you promised to do the right thing in the future.
Mike,
Yeah.
sorry, we're using hands again.
Sorry, we're trying to stay on track with that. No, I'm gonna question whether or not this even is an appropriate door, like, we haven't gone through that analysis of what the historical context of these doors are. What would have been on that building when it was built, what, you know, the normal review we go through to determine the appropriateness of a door. That, you know, that looks like a 1950s door on a 1915 building, right? I don't know if that's appropriate or not. So I'm not saying whether or not it's appropriate. I'm saying, look at, they had approval for a door, which we may or may not have agreed with in 2019, given that it was a staff level approval. They put in something completely different with no explanation as to why they just chose to do something different. And now they're coming to us because they have open permits in the building, they can't move forward with other work, and they want us to approve something that they just skirted through. And I'm not ready to say this is an appropriate door, because I have not done an analysis of this door in context to this building. And as David points out, in the context of a master plan for this entire building, that all the doors in the building should have similarity in historical context in the ladies' district.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's an appropriate door, I'm saying they just went willy-nilly and put in a door. And now they're coming to us because they can't do other work inside without us giving approval. As Brad points out, it's going to be approved, but we as a board, I think, have tried to, for many years now, been very consistent in our messaging to LPC about what is approved and what is not approved. And I think this is a test of our stamina and stability on how we present to LPC.
I think that's well said, Paul. Julie, do you mind taking your presentation down, or just allow us to kind of bridge
Oh,
this
yeah,
gap?
Carrie, if I may, also, we check schedules. We're happy to push to the August 8th public hearing. I apologize for the delay in that and the confusion over the full board dates, but we'll shift to the August 8th public hearing so that we can get a vote and a resolution at your full board.
Thank you. That's great. I just have, if I may, a real quick question, but before I think someone will make a motion. And I've kind of forgotten what my question. Do you have, by any chance, a photo of the actual original door, or even of the other doors on the block on that side of the building, so that we can see what it looks like contextually, or how far we've, moved away from what it was originally?
The photos that we have are the ones that were included in the deck. We did a deep dive, and there really just is not a lot of documentation for that building. As I mentioned, it was built as a warehouse structure. There wasn't a whole lot of documentation for those elevations.
Okay, thank you.
Just one more question about the staff versus public hearing approval that went on before. If a door like this could be approved at staff level, why is it coming back to us? And going back into the public level rather than being resolved at the staff level. Are you familiar with an actual rule in the landmarks rules that would have allowed staff to approve this in the first place?
That is a great question. So the staff level rules require that the door be configured so that it is closer to a double door looking configuration. The fact that the installed door is a center door with two side lights does not meet the rules. As you saw on the district context slide, the commission at public hearing has approved that configuration before, but it does not meet the current rules as they are written now.
So it may have met the rules formally?
No,
In its first submission.
it didn't even do what the staff asked at all.
Right, the reason I'm dwelling on whether it was the staff's right to give the approval is because we might want to call it out in our letter.
Oh, I think about what they can improve this stuff. Now we know it's expanding too. It's even more stuff now. It's just making you happy, sure.
So I think at least as I'm reading the room, there's some consensus if we could restate in the form of motion.
Well, you raised it better than it was mine. Much better. All right, so then I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion.
I'm
that
sorry,
we
guys.
not-
I think Marty's hand was up. I just want to call that out before we make the motion.
We can't see it on the screen. I'm sorry.
Bronze color.
I wanted to support Paul's comment from before. So if he's making the motion, that sounds good. I think your motion should be that we disapprove this application outside of the context of a master plan for the other doors and the other openings in the building. If we support this door, we're supporting one isolated element of the building, and we don't have an overall context. And that's what we've been talking, and that's what you and David have been so very good at in the past. So I would disapprove this outside of the context of an overall master plan for the other doors and openings on the ground floor.
I would second that motion. And maybe add a friendly amendment to include language that we're not taking position on the door because we have not been provided the analysis of the historical context of the illegal door.
Can we frame that positively, which is that like a review of the historical context is essential to determine if the door, any door, whichever door would be appropriate. I mean, it's not even about this door per se,
Yeah,
it's that
right.
this work has to be done.
We have to have an analysis of the historical context of any doors and inclusive of a master plan for the building.
So that's a motion.
Well, yes,
Is-
we're not.
We're not-
We're doing consensus.
Voting, we're doing
Right.
consensus, but.
If we had
Yeah.
a quorum, we'd be making that motion.
Right. We'll go through the motions.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
This is something to vote.
if you're in favor, raise your hand.
I'm sorry, could you restate the motion?
No. Artie? The motion is to disapprove or not approve of the application because of the procedural issues. They did not, that this is an illegal installation and that we do not have historical context for the actual door itself and to do a proper analysis of whether the door is appropriate or not.
Right, are we also going to call for a master plan in that?
Yes.
Okay. And, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, on the Zoom. Okay, and
Mike Noble.
Mike Noble, if you care to vote, come off camera, raise your hand.
You're muted, Mike.
You're muted, we can't hear you. Are you a no or abstaining?
No, I'm a no.
Okay. Okay, I think that still qualifies as consensus. And we will bring this before the board for formal approval of its approval.
And thank you, Julie, for doing that, for postponing. Thank you for that.
Great. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay, so that can, oh, Marty, your hand is still up. Do you have something else you wanted to add?
He isn't here. No, I'm putting his hand up.
Okay. Okay, we will then move to old business.
Actually, we have one new business item, which is 116 West 23rd, the Burlington Coat Factory building. A special permit renewal regarding signage.
Sorry,
We
was it not?
It's old slash new business.
Excuse me, thank you. Go ahead, Carrie, sorry.
So this application came before us. This will be, I believe, if I'm reading my notes right, the third time we will be writing a letter to approve. So we thought that we could just do an admin letter instead of having, a full presentation. There's been no change to the special permit since the last time it was renewed and approved by this committee. Jesse's idea was that we would just write to DCP stating the board continues to support the special permit and enclose our past letters. So we just want, I guess, again, consensus that that's okay with everybody. If it is not okay, we will have the applicant come in July. The letter or the application is in the Dropbox, so everyone should have had a chance to read it and see all the letters. Is that okay with it? Is there anyone who objects to an admin letter on this application? Great, we're gonna move on. How fast was that? Yeah, we're done really. There's one piece of old business, which is just to let you all know about the painful LPC rules change letter that we wrote. I testified on May 23rd at LPC regarding our position. There were at least 18 other, groups and community boards and elected officials who also testified, only one of which was in favor. So we've not yet heard back from LPC, though we did request in our letter that they, answer some of our questions about a lot of the rule changes. We also reached out to them and asked if they would come do a presentation or have a conversation, and they declined and said, they could not do that because there are too many community boards and they would have to do it for all of them. So at this point, really the update is no update. They did hold the vote, so they didn't actually vote on it, which they were supposed to, or they intended to. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's where we are today. And City of Yes, Jessica can speak to this a little bit more, but they have responded to a number of our questions, and we will, continue to get those and then be formalizing that in a letter. Their period of comment was extended, so we have a little bit more time. That could be the meeting right there.
All right, I think as we look ahead, I'll just note, there are a few topics that I know we've all been discussing. One is just related to, continuing watching of the Bayview RFP, which has not yet been released. And I think we're all looking forward to some movement on that. I think everyone heard about the announcement of the funds to go to former colored school number 4, which is very exciting. But anticipate hopefully some idea about an RFP that will discuss the long-term use of the building once it's stabilized. So we can certainly, continue to brainstorm ideas we may have for that space. I want to do that not just as land use, but at the board. I know there was some discussion about Eric's office wanting to discuss land grants and the possibility of learning more about that and its potential for different ways of developing property for the benefit of housing and community. And of course, the Fulton Houses redevelopment, where we're waiting on an update from Essence and NICSHA. But I think
yeah, just on that last note, that was, going to be, as you all know, this meeting tonight, we were going to devote to that, but Essence asked that they have more time to collect consensus from the residents of the NYCHA housing. So we said yes.
Mike, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, let me just tell you that there's going to be a meeting, tenants, here next Monday to go over what's going to be revealed in a press release shortly. The tenants will be told what the result of that tenant vote was, right? Simultaneous with the press release, right? That'll happen soon. There'll be a New York Times article, which I'm happy to be part of, coming out at the same time. But the tenants and the public will know at the same time, what the result was. What's going to happen, and I think Jesse can confirm this, is that the meeting that's going to be held with Essence present at CB4 is indeed going to be a NYCHA meeting. Okay, it's a NYCHA CB4 meeting. Essence will be in attendance, but not in the same context as it was in the original thought. Okay, so just be, I will let you folks know if you want what happens tomorrow. The tenants will be given notice on their doorknobs with a little package explaining what the, what's happened here. And then it'll be discussed. They'll know all that prior to the meeting on Monday. Okay, there'll be a Zoom meeting on Monday at 6 p.m. And then the following day, there'll be an in-person meeting at Hudson Guild. Right, that's the way it's set up now. Right. I know that Jamar Adams had further discussion with the with City Hall today, this afternoon, after, in the course of our discussion on the phone. I don't think anything has changed because his assistant asked me later on this evening whether I wanted to still talk to the Times. I said I did. So that's where that stands.
Thank you.
I'm speaking to the Times as tenant, understand.
Yes.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry,
now you
this-
know.
Well, yeah, I think just for clarity's sake, I got a little confused from the beginning to the end. When is the meeting that the tenants learn about the results? And then when is the press release? What date is that? Hector has his hand raised hand.
Yeah, Mike, if you have an answer, go ahead.
Yeah, so my understanding is that this week, right, tomorrow, hopefully, everybody will be notified, yeah, and it will be discussed at length on Monday in the Zoom meeting. Or if you can't attend that the next day, yeah, at Hudson Guild in person. Right, so
that's so
hopefully.
Monday and Tuesday next week. This is the plan is the results of the survey are going public. Is for clarity.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Mike, I'm
Well,
sorry.
no. It will go public and to the tenants prior to the discussion on Monday. All right.
Okay.
Good. I mean, so they want the tenants to come equipped with the knowledge of what happened, so that they have their questions in place by Monday. See.
If I may interject, I didn't hear anything about the tenants getting notified prior to that meeting on Monday the 26th. As far as I understand, that is going to be the first time anybody's going to know what the results of the voting was. But if you heard differently, but I haven't heard such a thing. And I know.
Well, I got it from the horse's mouth this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, right, good. All right, great. But I know there's a backup just in case on the 26th. Sorry,
Well, no, that's the 26th is for further discussion.
No, I mean the 28th.
Edification, yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But people will know the results before that, unless something happened after I spoke to Jamar. So that's where that stands. Okay.
Betty, did you have I think obviously a lot of this needs to play out and is outside of our, we want to be knowledgeable and informed, but it will sort of be what it will be at this point. Betty, did you have a question though on the process?
You're on mute, Betty. Now you're on double mute. Take your hand over.
Hey, Mike or someone else, could you clarify, has there been any kind of survey or vote prior to Monday of the tenants? Or are they supposed to be informed on Monday and then there will be a follow-up of some kind of expression of approval or disapproval by the tenants, or is that not part of the process?
Well, the tenants of the jury has spoken. All right. The votes have been counted and in fact recounted because so many people voted twice. CHCP, the folks who, Jessica Katz, her prior organization, they're the folks who went in there and counted votes, okay?
So the,
When a bunch of people voted both, online and then on paper and or changed or whatever, they said, oh my God, we've got to go and talk to these people individually now and make sure. That's what took the voting of the county so long to achieve.
what percent? So
You're assuming that I know the answer.
what, I just wanted, this is the total population of the buildings, and I guess, and what percent of the existing population voted?
I'm really not at liberty to discuss the exact details. I can tell you this much. It was a higher turnout than the mayor got in both elections. All right. Yeah.
It was very,
I think obviously we want to continue to be updated on this. I didn't need to suggest like it will be what it will be so much as there's a process unfolding with a lot of important stakeholders, residents, NYCHA, development company, et cetera. And I think hopefully very soon we'll have this topic affirmatively on our agenda where we can get answers to the kinds of questions that I'm sure we all have and to hear more definitively about where different stakeholders are falling with regards to this issue. So let's stay tuned. And good luck to all of you that are involved with this next week and a half.
Well, it's been a long haul, you see.
Yeah, well,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
yes, please.
Wait, let's vote for windows that aren't gonna go in. Can we do that now?
So we have a motion.
Someone seconded? Great, Karen, thank you all. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Thank you for coming.
Good night, everybody. Don't forget to
Thank
vote.
you. Thanks for setting this up, Jesse.
Just,
And we got it worked out.
this thing is individually hitting us up.
Yeah.
This owl.
Yeah.
So we should look really good.
If you're wanting to look at who you're speaking to, you're looking at the camera. That's the.
Cause it switches me out, like David was up before.
Yeah, so they'll switch you out.
I thought you switched me out, I'm like, I got off.
From my perspective, Jesse, I have a comment.
I'm gonna stop recording and streaming so we can everybody that's.
Look at that.